I shouldn't have said anything that night. Not about the footsteps, not about the crown on the stairs. Because once you speak their names, they know you've heard them. I was one of the night custodians at the Tower of London. They tell you during training that silence is part of the job. You clean, you keep your head down, and you don't ask questions about the noises after midnight. Most of the time, it's just tourists' imagination echoing through the walls, but not always. The first time it happened, I was sweeping near the Bloody Tower, the part they say housed the two princes. You know the story, right? Two boys, Edward and Richard, heirs to the throne, locked away by their uncle after their father died. They disappeared before the coronation. Everyone says the uncle had them killed, but no one ever found their bodies. At least, not officially. That night, I saw two marbles roll out from beneath a closed door. Perfect little glass spheres, clinking softly against my boot. When I looked down, one of them stopped dead on the word *blood*, carved faintly into the stone. I thought it was just a prank, but then I heard it. Small, bare feet, running on the upper floor, too light to be guards, too rhythmic to be rats. You ever heard children running where no children should be? There's a hollow rhythm to it, a strange joy that doesn't belong. I called out, "Hello?" And everything stopped. The air turned heavy, like the building itself was holding its breath. My flashlight flickered, and just as I raised it toward the stairs, I saw it. A tiny gold crown, tilted sideways on the steps, like it had been dropped mid-play. It wasn't part of any display. I'd walked that route 100 times. I know what's there, or what should be. When I bent down to touch it, the stone beneath my knee was warm, almost alive. Then the whisper came. Two voices, close together, speaking in that sing-song rhythm only brothers have. I couldn't make out the words, but I knew the tone. They were arguing. *1 sounded scared, the other resigned. Would you have stayed there? Would you have listened? Or would you have run? I should have left, but I didn't. Because when something ancient decides to speak, you don't get that chance again. Not in this place. Over the next week, I started seeing signs. Tiny footprints appearing in the dust along the stairwell, side by side. Sometimes I'd wipe them away, and they'd reappear, smaller, fainter, like they were retreating deeper into the stone. I told one of the beefeaters, the ceremonial guards, but he only smirked and said, "They like the new ones. Don't follow if they lead you." He wasn't joking. The next night, I found the marbles again, 3 this time, all laid in a perfect circle under the torchlight. When I looked closer, they weren't marbles at all. They were glass eyes, the kind they used in dolls centuries ago. I heard giggling in the hallway, faint, like the sound of wind playing with curtains. My flashlight caught a glimpse of something white, lace cuffs maybe. Then nothing. By the 4th night, I stopped sleeping. I kept replaying the old rumor that in 1674, 2 small skeletons were found buried under a staircase during renovations. They buried them again in Westminster, claiming they were the princes. But what if they weren't? What if those boys are still waiting to be found? Because no one ever listened long enough? You can't imagine what it's like to feel watched by something that wants you to understand it. Every time I entered the tower, it felt smaller, the walls closer, the torches dimmer, and always, that sound of marble rolling on stone. It happened again on the 13th night. I remember the date because the moon looked wrong, too low, too sharp around the edges. I was sweeping near the north wall when I heard someone whisper, "He's coming." A child's voice, trembling. I turned, but the corridor was empty. Then another voice, calmer, almost protective, said, "Hide." The torches blew out. I ran my hand along the wall until I reached the Bloody Tower door, the same one I'd found the marbles under. I don't know why I opened it. Curiosity, maybe, or madness. The hinges creaked like something exhaling. Inside, the air smelled like metal and soot. My flashlight beam caught carvings on the walls, tiny scratches forming words no taller than a child's finger. "Forgive us." There were toys scattered across the floor. Wooden horses, spinning tops, little crowns carved from bone, but none of them had dust on them. They looked used. I felt a tug on my pant leg. I froze. Slowly, I aimed my light downward, and there, just behind me, stood two small figures, side by side, barefoot, one in a faded velvet tunic, the other clutching what looked like a marble. Their faces were pale but not ghostly, more like children in a cold room, shivering. The smaller one reached out his hand and whispered. He never stopped watching. Before I could move, something heavy slammed the door behind me. The beam flickered. The older boy looked toward the corner of the room, and I followed his gaze. There in the darkness stood a shadow taller than any man I've ever seen. It didn't move, but I could feel its breath, a steady pulse that rattled the glass in my light. The boys stepped backward, their forms blurring, fading into the stone as the shadow moved forward. I dropped my flashlight. It rolled, lighting the crown on the steps outside through the crack in the door. And in that dim spill of light, I saw what the shadow was holding, a chain of keys, old, rusted, stained dark at the tips. The door flung open on its own. I ran. I don't remember climbing the stairs or crossing the courtyard or bursting into the cold air. I just remember the marbles rolling behind me, dozens of them bouncing and chasing like tiny footsteps trying to follow. After that night, I quit. But every year, on the anniversary of the prince's disappearance, the tower staff report the same thing. Small fingerprints on the glass display where the crown jewels are kept, 2 sets, side by side. And sometimes, they find marbles in the vault, even though none are part of the exhibit. I didn't believe in ghosts before this. I thought every legend had a rational core, some piece of misinterpreted history. But what if these walls don't just remember? What if they repent? What if the tower itself was built to hold a secret it can never release? I still dream about the footsteps, the laughter, the crown rolling down the stairs. Sometimes I wake up to the sound of it hitting the floor beside my bed. And when I look down, there's nothing there, just 2 tiny footprints in the dust. Would you have gone inside? Would you have touched the crown? Or would you have run before they saw you? Because if you believe the princes are gone, wait until you hear who's been guarding their door ever since. Subscribe before they whisper your name next.